Hey folks, this is MysteriousJG. I want to let you guys know that my mini announcement upload pickings this week slim video from a month ago that I said was going to be up for a couple of days is finally going to be replaced because I want to make you guys aware of the Starflight 3 Universe Fig campaign announcement. So, um, if the fact that I'm still getting comments on it occasionally is anything to go by, and I have other videos on my channel that are more viewed, but are no longer receiving any comments, I still have people pop up to tell me that they enjoyed my Let's Plays of the original Starflight and of Starflight 2 Trade Routes of the Cloud Nebula. And it was actually somebody commenting on one of those old videos who made me aware of the fact that there is a um, crowdsourcing campaign to get a new Starflight game made. And now that's actually not entirely a new thing. There have been previous efforts to get a Starflight 3, although they were always fan projects. I think the most recent one of those came before crowdsourcing became a big thing, and it was just a bunch of fans getting together and working on games that were never done. And as Zerfall's actually pointed out to me before, there was a game that was going to be Starflight 3 that was in development, and then the rights to Starflight 3 were pulled away from the developers because of some corporate thing. And that game ended up being released as Protostar, but that game is generally not reviewed as highly as the Starflight games, and I've never played it. But a real Starflight 3 is a possibility. As I finally get around to posting this, there's less than a week to go, and it's at less than halfway to its goal. So things are not looking good, but I'd love to be wrong and have this thing actually make its goal. Now, I personally have already pledged an amount that I felt comfortable with, and I'd just like to encourage everybody to go in and pledge. And I really don't have a way to say, and you will be in my next LP, etc. I don't really have a way to do that. But of course, it's crowdsourcing, so it's got its own goal, rewards related to the game. It's also a great opportunity for you to see the weird freaking graphical glitches that I have when I use Microsoft Edge, which I do not understand. See, look at this nonsense. There's like weird glitchy stuff happening. Yeah. But anyway, you can go to fig.com or fig.co, or whatever the heck this website is. You can just Google it, Starflight 3 Universe. And I would encourage you to donate, because if the game doesn't get funded, you don't get billed. And it's looking like it won't get funded. So go nuts. But I would certainly Let's Play Starflight 3 if it's released. I won't tell you exactly what I donated, but it was sufficiently. Well, you know I didn't donate $5,000 because that's 0 of 10. But I did donate enough that I would get, early access, blah, blah, blah. And would certainly be getting the full game. And I think the difference between the $5,000 tier and the next highest tier involves just like hanging out with the producers and stuff like that. But no, you can go yourself. I won't go through the rewards. You can look through those yourself if you're interested in donating. But yeah, I think it would be cool if you did. There is their page here. I don't know. I feel like they could have done more talking about why you should donate than they did, honestly. They've got quotes. They got a little quote from Casey Hudson, director of Mass Effect, to say that this was an inspiration. I don't know if anybody involved with Star Control said anything, but it's kind of known in the gaming community that was active back in the day that Star Control is a lot like a fancied up somewhat version of StarCraft. And apparently the guys who made Dwarf Fortress have in their social media talked about really having loved StarCraft. So they talk about that a bit. So I keep saying StarCraft, it's Starflight 3. You got a couple little screenshots, although these screenshots are mostly from Trade Routes of the Cloud Nebula. And then you've got some footage from what the early versions of the game looks like. I know Zerfall was joking about how they want $800,000 to develop a game. They should go like the old school Starflight bare bones. And I'm like, I think by today's gaming standards, this little animated Thren guy is bare bones nowadays. Although there's plenty of retro stuff out there. Anyway, yeah, I guess I'm talking around in circles, but I would point out Fig is kind of an unusual crowdsourcing because the way Fig is supposed to work is that you have the option to just pledge in the traditional Kickstarter way, where you just, I'm going to pledge to pay however many $100, and when the game comes out, I will get, I will get a T-shirt, and I will get my name in the credits, and I will get an art book or whatever. But you can also, quote, invest in the game, which involves actually buying some kind of shares, and that if the game is actually made and becomes profitable, then after certain expenses are met, depending on how many shares were purchased and how much profit the game actually makes once costs are covered, then potentially you will be paid based on the number of shares that you bought when you invested. And this is a thing that some people in the crowdfunding gaming community are super excited about. Other people think it's a scam. I don't know. I kind of spent a few minutes researching it because I was thinking of investing. Um, the thing of it is that I was reading up on it, and Fig is new enough that the games that have been funded through Fig, I don't know if any of them are actually released yet and selling yet because Fig hasn't been around that long. So there really hasn't been an opportunity to see whether it will work out the way that it's supposed to. But I might be factually wrong. There might be one or two that are out. I'm not an authoritative source here. But I did just take the time to Google, is Fig a scam? I was just kind of curious about this before deciding whether I was going to personally pledge or invest. Um, I do know that apparently this is typical. More of the money is coming from people who are, quote, investing than people who are pledging. But anyway, um, I did read up on this, and of course, it's the internet. So all I found were people who were just like completely dumping on this and saying it was the worst thing ever, and everyone involved was going to end up in prison, and people who are thinking this is freaking incredible. Um, oh my God, this is going to change gaming. There didn't seem to be a whole lot of like reasoned or nuanced opinions about Fig. So there you have it, folks. You decide for yourself whether you trust Fig. The most interesting thing is like the first thing I started to read about how Fig is a horrible scam. They kept calling out this one guy by name, and I don't even remember his name to tell you the truth, but he was the guy, and I talk about this a little bit while recording Diablo 3 the other night with Zerf, which will be coming out on my channel shortly, that episode. I guess one of the main guys behind Fig, but not specifically involved with Starflight 3, is the guy who was like one of the creators of Grim Fandango. So I'm reading this article, and they keep mentioning this guy by name and how anybody who trusts money to him is a fool. He has a track record of scamming people and ripping people off. He's a piece of shit, blah blah. And I'm like, I don't know who this guy is, so I look him up, and he's like the Grim Fandango guy, and I'm like, what's people's problem with the Grim Fandango guy? Well, I'm reading his Wikipedia page, which okay, it's an authoritative as Wikipedia is, right? So not very. And if anyone has a vested interest in updating it and changing it a lot, it's probably that guy himself. But his Wikipedia page, I'm reading through looking for anything about him being scumbag, and it mentions Gamergate, and it says when such and such game journalist, and I don't even know who she was, so I don't remember that either. It says when she became involved in controversy because people were saying that she had a feminist, proto-feminist, crazy anti-male agenda or whatever. This guy who created Grim Fandango voiced support for her and women in general being in gaming. And as I'm reading this, I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm reading these really bile-drenched articles about Fig, which this guy's involved with. And then, sure enough, apparently it pissed off the Gamergate people, um, i.e., the like men's rights guys. And I'm like, okay, that may be really inclined to support this guy's project. Although it's possible that had I read further down the article, or had I chosen a source other than Wikipedia, I might have found credible evidence that the guy's a crook. Why do I keep talking about that? I don't know. I guess I just don't want anyone putting a bunch of money into Starflight 3 without thinking about it or reading into it for themselves. But now that I've told you all the reasons that you might be nervous, because I'm also telling you that a lot of the articles I read about how this is a bad thing, it seemed to be written by people who were writing that while with the left hand, while on another keyboard with the right hand, writing an article about how, you know, social justice warriors and feminazis are ruining gaming. So that's the thing. Anyway, please donate to Starflight 3 Universe because I really want to see the game get made. And I don't know that it gets made if this funding goal is not reached. Even though I would love to get a hold of this guy and be like, can you bring it down below 800K? Maybe make that up with DLC or something. But take a look. It's in a book, Reading Rainbow. I hope I didn't tell you more reasons not to support than I told you reasons to support. But I would just be so freaking thrilled if in the last 6 days there's a huge surge and this thing actually takes off and gets made. I love me some Starflight 3. And you know what? If you credibly tell me that you donated to this thing and it gets made and you can find some way to prove it to me, I will definitely engage in some trade barter exchange where I give you first dibs on a character in some future Let's Play series where I'm creating characters. Alright, guys. Have a good evening. And remember, never trust a Gazertoid. Or the Spemen. Or the Ulek. There's a lot of nasty fictional races out there. See ya.